Hey, everybody. It's 4 o'clock in Charleston, at least. Good evening to those of you overseas. Good afternoon to those of you here in the States. How was your weekend? I'm so excited to see you guys. This is my happy place right now, and it just means so much to me. I cannot even tell you. Whew, so much was bad about this weekend. So we're going to just like reset now that we're on Monday, and we're going to be like taking a deep breath. One thing I've started to realize lately, I had to reset this. So I'm sorry, like some of the wrinkles or whatever. I don't even own an iron, I'm sorry to say. So I couldn't unwrinkle that. But I had done a video for heart breathing. So I just I don't know. I kind of took it off because I didn't want it to be about my books. So now I had to put it back, and it's a little bit wrinkled, but it looks fine. But I just wanted to say that I do kind of feel like right now, obviously, things are at high tension in a lot of the world. And it's understandable, but it's also, I think, difficult to find places where things feel safe right now. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, where are the places that I can feel like these are my boundaries? These are my people. These are, places that I feel really safe. And I am sure that this is one of them. So I just wanted to say thank you again for being a part of this safe space where I feel like we all support each other. We all respect each other. We're all just here to have a good time and have some fun. We are going to be reading what I am calling episode 3 of the Beautiful Demons novel today. And I'm excited to get into it. This is a shorter episode than we read on Wednesday. It's only 7 pages, and they're not even full 7 pages. You can see one of the pages is kind of just like a couple of lines here and there. So I just am going to read a little bit, not super a lot, but we will read a little. But this is getting into the conflict of the story. We're getting there. So I think this is a good scene, and it's a scene with Harper and Jackson, and really the first time they talk to each other. So that's one of the things that I really like about it, and it just makes me smile. And after we get through this, I am going to talk about a couple of things when it comes to creating a story, keeping track of story threads, because in this particular scene or group of scenes, there are a few things that I don't know how to explain it, just like a few things that I took out of the book later that I never followed up on. And so part of my thoughts as a writer is when something kind of evolves into something else, it's kind of like, do I want to go back and fix that? I'm not sure. So, reading back through this, there's a part of me that's like, maybe I should go back and change that scene a little bit because I don't know. I'll explain it at the very end because it's kind of an interesting look inside the mind of a writer. So it'll be interesting. I also kind of went a little bit blue on my eyeshadow today just to have fun. I got this new shirt that says, I live in my own reality. And I thought it was kind of appropriate for right now because I feel like I need my own reality. I feel like just tensions are high, and there's, I even joined a Hello Kitty group that's called Beyond the Bow because somebody was like, hey, just join this and you can see all this cute Hello Kitty stuff all the time. And it's literally no drama. It's just people talking about Hello Kitty and how much they love her. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And within 2 days of joining, there's already arguments breaking out and stuff. So I'm kind of like, all right. I think that online, many places right now, if you're not in the mood to argue or to hear people arguing, are not super amazing space. So I will just put this out here because I don't think I need to exactly because you guys are amazing, but I will just put out here that right now, this is such a safe space, I feel like, for everybody, that even though there are heavy things going on in the world and we may touch on them from time to time, I will fiercely protect this space right here because it is part of my sanity. And we started this to kind of get away from, the stress of the times with us still being sheltered in place. And, when all the shelter in place started in March, I really didn't think that we would still be here in almost July. And I kind of feel like, oh my gosh, is my son even going to go back to school in August? Like, I'm not even sure we're going to be going back to school in the fall. So things are still up in the air. So it's, not surprising that tensions are high. But I just feel like we also, all of us, no matter what your views are on things, we all kind of need a space that just feels like a happy place. And, yes, stay off social media. It can be toxic. But I also walked outside of my house and got attacked by a neighbor yesterday who fat shamed me. So it's just like, okay, whatever is happening in this world is kind of happening all over the place. So I am going to just fiercely protect this because I feel like we all need a space. So just a little speech at the beginning to say, let's keep this a positive, safe space. And, George can't always be here to monitor the comments, but if something happens, try not to engage in an argument here because we're just going to keep this a safe, fun space. So if you would like to, it was just a very unfortunate thing. She asked if I was pregnant again, how many months pregnant? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not pregnant. And she goes, oh, so you're just fat? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And she's like, oh, well, I told everyone for sure you were pregnant. So now I feel kind of nervous about leaving my house because I'm like, do all the neighbors think that I'm pregnant? And, what I am trying to do, I had a really, really rough night last night because some of you in the coven know that I also was getting some mean comments here on YouTube. And I think that overall I know that I'm a strong person, but at the same time, I think no matter how strong you are as a person, when you get things kind of stacked up and you start to feel like, okay, I can't take one more thing, of course, the universe is going to say, here's one more thing for you. And I feel like it's probably a test in a lot of ways, but it's also a challenge. And it's all about, like, one thing I firmly believe in life is you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. And so it's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset when someone hurts your feelings, but it's up to you whether you're going to let that derail you and stop you. Because honestly, after a few things happened this weekend, because it was like one thing after another, there was a part of me that was like, I'm just going to go tell people that I'm canceling Beautiful Demons for the week. And then I just started thinking in the shower, because I tend to do my best thinking in the shower. And I was like, you know what? I'm not letting anybody take this space away from me. And I'm not letting anybody take this away from you guys either, because I feel like this is something that I've wanted for the longest time, is to have this community, and you guys are here and we're here together and it's amazing. And I love it. So yeah, shower thoughts. I feel like, so something that I've been thinking about a lot in my own life is energy. And I'm a strong believer that the energy you bring to something is the energy you get back. Call it karma, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like if you're in a negative energy space and you allow yourself to keep spiraling into a really negative space, you're going to attract more negative things to you, or you're at least going to be noticing more negative things, and you can really get caught into what I would call a negativity spiral. And this has happened to me a lot of times in my life. And so I have witnessed it many times, but I also have a strong belief that if we can try just a little bit to reach for just a better feeling, just a little bit better feeling. Okay, how can I, not ignore my feelings? I want to process them. I cried a lot last night. My eyes are probably still a little bit red. I actually just curled up right next to that little planter cart over there, and I just cried and cried and cried. And then I felt better. And, sometimes we have to do that. And then we have to get up and move on. So, like, process your feelings, but decide how what resources you have available to you that can pull you out of that negativity. And so I've been thinking about this a lot. And this space, this creativity space where we are nice to each other, where we have a lot of fun, where we talk about books and things that we love, where I just have gotten to know all of your names and enjoyed your comments and everything else. Just as an aside, I'll mention, don't let me forget to mention my YouTube stats to you guys, because it was kind of funny. This is a place that pulls me out of the negativity, and also like going to the beach. Now, going to the beach is a difficult thing right now because you don't want to be around a lot of people, or you want, wearing a mask on the beach and, whatever, but it is still a resource. Or going out for a walk if you live somewhere in nature and you can kind of stay away from people, watching something that makes you have some fun, playing around with your new pens or your planner stuff, reading a new book. But if you have something that pulls you out of a negative space and makes you feel better, please share it in the comments so that we can all maybe get some new ideas. It could be a game that you play. It could be meditation, yoga. What is it that helps you? Please share it with the group, because I think that that's what I'm looking for right now. And I think that's going to be a resource that's valuable to all of us right now, is when we get in an argument or we witness an argument online, or when we're thinking about hard things or difficult news comes across, the social media or whatever, what can we do for ourselves to bring ourselves a little bit of happiness and to shift that energy back to, something a little bit more positive? So if you want to share that, I certainly would be appreciative of it. And I'm sure that everybody else would too. Sims, for sure. I saw, Christabel, that you guys were talking about it before. Kennedy said doggies. Yes, I'm so sad that we don't have a dog. I love cats, but my husband is allergic to cats, and I don't even want to try. He's so allergic. I don't even want to try with cats that they say are like less allergic, because I'm scared that we would then have to get rid of a kitty, and I don't want to have to do that. So no cats for me, but we could get a dog, but right now we're renting. So maybe that's something we'll talk about as a family when we're able to finally buy our new house sometime in the next year. Maybe we'll get a dog, because I think animals are definitely one of those things. There's George. George has appeared, and he says, oh, I can pull up comments this week. No cats. Also, I have to say, Animal Crossing. See this, where did it go? Oh my gosh, things are going by too fast. Animal Crossing, Orla says, yes, and somebody else had mentioned it before. So I had wanted so badly, I had this little intuition at the end of the year when we were around Christmas. I thought, gosh, I want to get that Nintendo Switch, and I didn't do it. And now they're all sold out, but I could still get a light. But I've heard so many people saying that that Animal Crossing is super fun. So very cool. Melissa said, for me, it's plants. I love working with plants. I also Fame online and this. So I don't know what Fame is, maybe farm. But yes, cool stuff. So I used to sew. I gave my sewing machine away to a lovely friend in my writers group earlier last year. Hiking trail, Steph, awesome. It's deserted for the most part, but a beautiful view of the river. That is so nice. We actually do have little sort of irrigation type ponds and stuff here. I think it's to keep the area from flooding because we're so close to the beach. And those are nice to walk around. They're like trails around the neighborhood, but there are often alligators out there. So you have to be kind of careful. George said something about snorting grass, which I think is so funny. Alexandra, I'm doing dance workouts on YouTube. I hadn't even thought about dancing. This may sound really kind of silly, but I used to love Jazzercise. Please tell me some of you have been to Jazzercise and loved it before. It's so 1980s or something like that. But when George and I were getting married about 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, we were I wanted to fit into my dress a little bit. I wanted it to be just a little bit better. And so I was doing Jazzercise 3 times a week, and it was so much fun. Forget weight loss or anything else. It was just so much fun because it was just dancing. So I'm going to have to write that down. Now I need to go look for it. Whoever said that, please tell me again who it was you were dancing to on YouTube. Just say it one more time. Something riff. Yeah, Zumba is another one. I might actually have some like old school Zumba DVDs for my Xbox 360, which sounds so bad. Pink Fong songs with my toddler. That is so cute, Dilda. Oh my gosh. Yay, Carrie. I knew it. Somebody had to be out there that's done jazzercise. Dance Dance Revolution. That's another really good one. I played that on Xbox. It's really fun. I wish there was a jazzercise here. Of course, there probably haven't been open for months, but there is one, but it's all the way in Mount Pleasant, which is like 40 minutes from me. So that's just not going to happen. I love to cycle through Battersea Park in London, David. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I have never been to London. I have been to Europe, across quite a bit of Europe, but I never made it to London. So hopefully that's on my vision board for someday. Sylvia, that's a good idea. Citrus oils in an aromatherapy diffuser is good for lifting mood. And I actually do have a couple over here. I have one that's called Mom Fuel and a few other things. And I saw that T Moana is here and she said sage and crystals and things like that, which is awesome. Carrie also said, I meditate and light candles, envisioning a circle of protection. So last night was the new moon. So it was a good time for setting intentions. But as much as I tried to get into the mood of setting really good intentions, I couldn't do it. I was too upset. It was just too many things happening over the weekend. So I just needed, I guess, to just kind of reset. But I'm feeling much better today. Plus I have you guys lifting my mood. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a vision board. I've already done a vision board for my career for this quarter because I do one every quarter. But I think I'm going to do a vision board tonight for things that lift my spirit. So if any of you want to join me, I will post my vision board in the group tonight or tomorrow, whenever it gets finished. But if you want to do the same, I would love to invite you to create a vision board. You can do it in Canva or in Pinterest or just old school magazines or printing things out and just do it like a collage. But I'm going to make a vision board for my intentions for, new moon. Miriam said new moon, new beginnings. So I'm going to set an intention for myself. I'm so used to these vision boards being all about career. What am I going to achieve? What am I going to do? But I think that this weekend has been like a light coming on in my brain that I also need to think about. What are my boundaries? What do I want to feel on a daily basis? What do I want to surround myself and what kind of people do I want to surround myself with? So Orla said, any excuse to go down the Pinterest rabbit hole. I hear you. I just did mine. I'm kind of looking over here because I have it pinned to my wall over here. I did mine strangely on Good Notes, which is an app on my iPad. And it really worked out well, even though that's supposed to be like a note-taking one. Sonia says, vision board to lift my spirits is a great idea. And Kara likes that idea as well. Renee said, yes, can't make one tonight, but maybe for Friday's coffee chat. That's actually a really good idea. So maybe for Friday's coffee chat, I could share mine with you. What we could do is you guys could let me know if you would want to maybe share some of your vision boards for what you want to do to bring your spirits up. And maybe I could share my screen if you send me images of yours and we could show them off a little bit. That could be cool. Vanessa said, can you explain what a vision board for intentions would look like? So let me just grab mine real quick. I've kind of got it pinned over here. So just a second. I'm still here. So this one I made digitally and then I printed it out. So hopefully you guys can kind of see it. So I just put like a pretty thing here. And then I've got like things like my energy is high and I'm strong. And I've got like different witchy things. And then here's George and I celebrating my TV deal. And this is just like ideas are flowing and good things are happening. My YouTube channel is doing well. And then this second half of the vision board is like this is our new home that we're hoping to buy, some new like tattoos and kind of changing. Ironically, talking about trying to lose the baby weight. I guess my neighbor needed me to do it faster. This is like a Louis Vuitton bag I really want. And my dream is to kind of have like a Tesla. So then maybe like travel in the future when the travel bans get lifted. So this is one that is specifically for like things I want to achieve or bring into my life. So when it comes to a vision board for your intentions and stuff, what I'm thinking is kind of like a mood board. So something that just like evokes a sense of calm and also has things where it's like, rather than things I want to achieve, things I can turn to when I'm feeling down. So like our community here. So maybe I'll take a screenshot of the chat or something like that. And the books I like to read, or like maybe I could find a picture online of somebody sitting in a comfy chair with a book, because those are going to be the kind of things that I can turn to, and I can remind myself, oh yeah, a walk will make me feel better, or getting together and coming and talking in the coven will make me feel better, and those kind of things. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and I'll definitely share it with you tonight. So Jennifer said, please say again where you created that vision board online. So you can do them in Canva. And Canva is free. So if you have the images, you can crop them and move them around like a collage in Canva. But this one I created in GoodNotes on my iPad. So I am kind of new to an iPad. I got one last year when I traded in my my like computer that I'm on right now, iMac. I had an old one and I traded it in, and they gave me a credit at Apple. And so I was like, oh, I'll get an iPad. And I had never had one before. So I've got the little Apple Pencil, and I've been kind of just playing around with it a little bit. And so I used that to create this. So if you have an iPad, you can make one in GoodNotes, but you can also do it in Canva, and that will work out just perfectly fine. Probably PicMonkey, you could do one as well. So, oh, Gemma says, I'm using that app right now while listening to make my new logo. Very cool. So yeah, GoodNotes is kind of interesting. It's not really meant to be an image type thing. It's more for like a note, like an online or like an app for a notebook, but it worked. And it was great. So I'm going to do that tonight, hopefully, and I will share it with you guys in the coven either tonight or tomorrow, and we'll share some ideas for it on Friday and kind of see how it goes. So Loving Calm Chaos said, I've always had a hard time creating a vision board. It can be, I think it's something you can play around with and just kind of see, but I wonder if you're a perfectionist, because I think that sometimes people who are perfectionists are like, I don't know exactly what image I want to have. So instead of just seeing something that you think is interesting, you feel like it's got to be the perfect image. That may not be you, but I do know that since I teach a course where people make vision boards, a lot of times people that have a hard time with them, it's because they feel like they need to control it. Like, I got to get it just right. So my advice to you would be to just any image that speaks to you online, like if you search for anything or you see something, if any of you still have old school magazines, I do actually still get magazines, but a lot of people don't, then you could actually like just look at it. And anything that you can find in there that speaks to you, any type of saying or quote, and it doesn't have to be like 1,000 pictures. It could really just be 3 images that really speak to you, and that's enough. So that'll be kind of fun. I'm also going to do, just an FYI, I think I'm going to do a vision board party on Heart Breathings at the end of this year. So if you're interested in vision boarding, I'm going to do kind of a couple of videos and a like online party for a vision board that will just be kind of a free little event, maybe in Zoom, maybe here on YouTube. I'm not sure. So, okay. Oh no, you guys, sometimes this chat goes by too fast. Could you write a book on an iPad using an iPencil? Yep, you could. Definitely you could. And it will transcribe your writing, I believe, even if you needed to do that. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, and you can Google a vision board. There's also a lot of examples on how to make a vision board here on YouTube that I've watched. Molly Roberts has a really good idea of how to do a vision board for kind of witchier people and all of that stuff. So now that I've been talking for 20 minutes, we're going to read a little bit. So we are going to read starting with chapter 9. What is it with this town and cheerleaders is the name of the chapter. And this is, like I said, 7 pages. Just as a quick recap, since it's been since last Wednesday, since we read the last episode. So in the second episode, Harper goes to the little shop and she meets Drake. And as soon as he sees where she's from and who she's hanging out with, he's suddenly not so nice to her anymore. Then she goes to her first day at high school, passes out in front of the stone statue, and is just feels like an embarrassment. Then when she finally makes it to the cafeteria, she sees for the first time the beautiful demons cheerleaders and makes a terrible enemy when she trips over something that she couldn't even see and spills ketchup all over Tori, who is a girl her age, who is one of the mean popular cheerleaders. So Harper has stormed out of the cafeteria, and this is where we are. So chapter 9, what is it with this town and cheerleaders? I let out a frustrated gurgle and kicked the brick as hard as I could with my boot. Never in a million years did I dream my first day could go this badly. I wanted to go home, and it wasn't even noon yet. Hit those bricks any harder, and you just might bring the whole building down. I twirled around to see who was talking. I sucked in a tight breath when I saw Jackson Hunt standing there at the edge of the building, cigarette in hand and a ridiculously sexy smile on his face. He was even better looking up close than I thought he'd be. "I'm serious," he said. "You've got some kind of kick there. I'm impressed." I laughed, then groaned. This is positively the worst first day of school ever. And just think, it's not over yet. "Thanks. That gives me something to look forward to," I said. He smiled. "I'm Jackson." "I know," I said, then felt like smacking myself for admitting it. "I saw you from my window the other day. I'm Harper." "So, Harper, where did you learn to move objects with your mind?" My eyes widened in surprise. No one had ever called me out like that before. I didn't know how to respond. "If you're just here to make fun of me, I think I've had enough for one day, if you don't mind," I said, suddenly feeling very defensive. I waited for him to call me a witch or tell me I was some kind of freak. "Whoa, that's not what I mean. I think it's pretty neat what you did in there. Seriously." I turned to study his face. He seemed to be telling the truth. "You don't think I'm a complete nutcase?" "No," he said, "trust me. Stranger things have happened." I leaned against the jagged bricks and sighed. Right? Stranger things than floating lunch trays? I doubted it. "Don't worry about it so much," Jackson said. "It was kind of funny, really." "No, it was completely stupid. Everyone seems to worship those girls. So what do? Make them my enemies? Real smart." "Well, you made me laugh," he said. He moved beside me and leaned one hand against the brick. "Plus, you have no idea how nice it was to see someone dump ketchup all over the precious Tori Fairchild." I wondered again what his relationship to her was. It was obvious they didn't run in the same circles here at school, but she had practically been all over him the other night. I hope it was worth it, because now she wants me dead. Jackson lowered his voice and leaned so close I could smell his shampoo. "Something tells me you can hold your own against those girls." My palms began to sweat, and I suddenly felt short of breath at the nearness of him. "Can I ask you a question?" He raised his eyebrows. "Shoot." "Why does everyone worship them? I mean, they're beautiful, but..." I shrugged. "Lots of people in this world are beautiful." "They're popular because they're cheerleaders," he said. I rolled my eyes. "What is it with this town and cheerleaders? Jesus." Jackson laughed, making his green eyes come alive. My heart sort of melted a bit watching him. Then he shook his head and squashed his cigarette into the ground. "They're poisonous, Harper. They get into your system and change you from the inside." His expression smoothed over suddenly, like it was too much for him to explain. He pushed off the wall. "Don't let them get to you." His words fell heavy on my ears as I watched him walk away. Chapter 10, My Best Attempt. You have to wear blue and black. Agnes poked her head into my room and made a face at me in the mirror. Demon pride. She was wearing a demon tattoo on her face like all the cheerleaders at school. She held one out to me and asked if I wanted help putting it on, but I stuck my tongue out at her. There was no way I was going to wear a blue demon on my face. Fine, she said. You don't have to wear the demon, but you can at least put on a blue t-shirt. I bit my lip and stared into my sparsely populated closet. Besides the pink tee I was currently wearing, I had a total of 12 shirts, and none of them were blue. How about black? She shrugged. I guess that'll work. Why do we have to go to this stupid game anyway? It's tradition, she said. It's like a family outing during football season. Mrs. Shadowford never goes, for obvious reasons, but LMA likes the games. I think she used to be a cheerleader when she was in school. I rolled my eyes. Cheerleaders. It was like I couldn't get away from them in this town. I'm going to try out for the cheerleading squad next year again, she said. She fell backward onto my bed and sighed. I'm already nervous about it, and tryouts aren't even till June. Why would you want to be a cheerleader? I asked, thinking about how mean Tori and her friends were. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that crowd, she said. They're the most beautiful girls in school. Agnes stood up and started leafing through my notebook of drawings that lay open on the end of the bed. Yeah, but just because you become a cheerleader doesn't mean you'll suddenly become beautiful, I said. Ouch, that was totally mean. I spun around, black tank top in hand. Oh, Agnes, I didn't mean it like that. You're adorable. She sighed. I know I'm not ugly or anything, but you just don't understand. When a girl makes the squad, she changes. How? You wouldn't understand, Agnes said. It's like a makeover in a way. Take Allison, for example. A few years ago, she was kind of an ugly duckling. Then she made it onto the cheerleading squad at the end of her 8th grade year. When we came back as freshmen, it was like she was totally transformed, like some kind of summer miracle. I changed into the black tank and searched through my stash of colorful ribbons for something demon blue. I found a royal blue silk ribbon and handed it to Agnes. She tied it around my wrist. What's up with all the ribbons? She asked. One of my foster moms worked at a craft store. She always used to bring home tons of leftover ribbons, I said, feeling lame. I don't know. I just like to wear them for color. Do you have another blue one? She asked. I smiled. Sure, I said, and helped her fasten a matching blue ribbon around her ponytail. These are really good, you know. She pointed to the drawings in my notebook. Are you going to be an artist or something? Probably not. I kind of suck. The truth was that I yearned to take art classes. Unfortunately, most of the public schools I'd been to had really crappy art programs, and there was no way I could afford to take classes anywhere else. I didn't like to talk about my art too much, though. In my experience, sharing too much about your dreams and goals with someone was pretty much just giving them fuel to hurt you later. It's really just for fun anyway. Okay, girls, LMA called from downstairs. I've got the van out front. You've got 5 minutes to get downstairs. Agnes took off running, but I hung back to see which picture she had been staring at with such intensity. The book was open to a pencil drawing I'd done of my mother. She gave me up for adoption when I was born, but I found a picture of her in my adopted parents' files once. They took it away from me and hid it somewhere, but I spent weeks after that trying to recreate it with my pencils. The drawing Agnes had been staring at was my best attempt. Harper, LMA called. Everybody's waiting for you, honey. Let's go. I ran my finger across the drawing of the pendant my mother wore around her neck, then closed the notebook with a snap. Coming, I yelled, then headed down the stairs to join the group. Chapter 11. Maybe he wasn't a Demons fan. Friday night football at the Peachville High Stadium was like going to a fair without all the rides. There was popcorn, cotton candy, music, and practically everyone in town came. LMA gave us each money for admission and snacks, then told us to meet her back at the Shadowford van 10 minutes after the final buzzer. Marianne, who had yet to say 2 words to me since I moved to Peachville, took off to sit with LMA. Courtney, Agnes, and I stuck together. So, what do you want to do? Agnes asked. We could find a spot on the bleachers and watch the kickoff, or we could get something to eat. We could always walk around and look for cute guys. There's this one guy, Grant, that's in my English class. He's delicious. I'll introduce you to him if I see him. I have a major crush on him. We walked along the back of the metal bleachers. Agnes talked nonstop, and I tried to pretend I wasn't searching for Jackson in the crowd. He hadn't been with us on the Shadowford van, but his car wasn't in the driveway either. What about you? She asked. What? You know, boys. Did you have a boyfriend in Atlanta? I shook my head. Not really. There was this one guy, Lucas. He was sort of my boyfriend for a while, but I've moved around too much to stay with anyone. I know what you mean, Agnes said. Before Shadowford, I had been in like 8 different schools. What about you, Courtney? I wanted to include her in the conversation, but for the most part, Courtney seemed really shy. I've never had a boyfriend, she said. Is there anyone at PHS that you like? Agnes asked. You've been going to school here for what, 4 years now? Uh-huh. Courtney pushed her straight blonde hair out of her face, and for the first time, I noticed how pretty she was. There's no one really special, I guess. I think we should try to find a boyfriend for Harper. Whoa, no thanks, I said, shaking my head vigorously. It wasn't that I was opposed to having a boyfriend, of course. I just didn't want Agnes picking him out for me. My mind flashed to Jackson's dark green eyes and the way my entire body had gone hot when he came close to me. We'll see, she said with a smile. It won't be hard for a girl like you. Why do you say that? Just look at you, Agnes said. You're tall, skinny, you have perfect skin, and I'd kill to have such pretty, wavy blonde hair. You know, you're pretty enough. If you tell me I'm pretty enough to be a cheerleader, I'm going to punch you in the face, I joked. She giggled and bumped me jokingly with her shoulder. Fine, I won't say it. As we turned the corner, I scanned the parking lot again for Jackson's car, but there was no sign of him. Maybe he wasn't a Demons fan. The announcer's voice boomed through the loudspeaker. Welcome, Demons fans, to another night of Peachville High School football. Come on, Agnes said, taking my hand. Let's go down to the field to watch the team break through the banner. As we made our way down to the field, I watched as the cheerleaders unfolded a huge banner that said, Go Demons, beat the Hogs, in bright blue letters. The marching band stood in 2 lines, blaring pep music while the fans crowded onto the field, forming a sort of runway for the team. Toward the front, I could see Tori Fairchild standing on another cheerleader's shoulders. She was admittedly gorgeous, and from here, she actually looked human. It sucked that after only 1 week at school, there was already someone who made my stomach hurt when I saw them, especially when it was one of the town's golden girls. Just then, the band started up the school's fight song, and the team broke through the banner, bursting onto the field amidst roars from the crowd. I clapped along without enthusiasm. Boys in blue and black shiny football jerseys rushed by, some of them jumping into the air to rile up the fans. Drake Ashward passed in front of me, and I felt a stab of hurt. He'd been so nice when we first met, flirty even. But all week at school, he treated me like I was a nobody, a social outcast. Not once had he acknowledged our conversation in his sister's store or the fact that he even knew who I was. To make matters worse, he was in my calculus class, the one disadvantage to being put in a senior level course. Once, I'd caught him staring at me during class, but when I smiled, he'd gotten a distasteful look on his face, then turned away. He's so cute, isn't he? Agnes said, forcing me to look away. Who? Drake. That is who you're staring at, right? And don't say no. I've seen the way you stare at him sometimes in the calf. I followed the crowds back toward the bleachers. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, say what you will, but I know the truth, don't I, Courtney? Courtney shrugged and looked at me with an apology in her eyes. Her hair hung over her face again, and her shoulders hunched slightly forward. No doubt she had been putting up with Agnes's matchmaking for a couple of years now. I winked at her to show her that I wasn't bothered by it, and she smiled shyly back at me. Let's find a seat on the bleachers, I said. I wasn't surprised when Agnes picked a spot a few rows in front of the cheerleaders. She argued that she needed to watch their cheers closely so she could practice them at home. I, for one, didn't understand why she was already thinking about tryouts that were still a good 8 or 9 months away, but I wasn't going to force her to sit somewhere else. Brooke, the dark-haired senior captain, started most of the cheers, and I was amazed at how actively the crowd participated. Sure, most schools had a section that would cheer along with the group cheers, but this crowd, they were obsessed. When Brooke started cheering, "Give me a D," the entire home side of the stadium roared back, "D!" It was honestly so loud it startled me. Talk about team spirit. As the game went on, I started to wonder if more people had come to watch the cheerleaders than the actual football game, which, by the way, the Demons won 34-10. Much to my dismay, Drake Ashworth was a talented quarterback. There had been a small part of me that hoped he would suck so I could boo him when his passes were intercepted. No such luck. "Great game," Agnes said on the way back to the Shadowford van. "Thrilling," I said. "You're going to have to learn some school spirit if you plan to come to the games with me from now on," she said, teasing. "I have a feeling the Demons will grow on you once you've been here for a while. We've got a great team this year." Considering the fact that all of the cheerleaders had it out for me and the team's quarterback had treated me like roadkill, I seriously doubted I'd be donning a demon tattoo and buying blue pom-poms anytime soon. The game's one redeeming moment had happened as we walked into the parking lot. I heard laughter erupt somewhere off to my right, and when I looked to find the source, I saw Jackson Hunt sitting on the hood of a car with a few guys I didn't recognize. Before I could stop myself, I smiled and waved. Jackson, who had been heckling some poor Demons fan who was decked out in full blue face paint, looked my way. His normally spiky dark hair fell forward over his face slightly, framing his dark eyes. A wave of warmth washed over me as our eyes met. He lifted his eyebrows suggestively, then the corners of his mouth lifted slightly in a smile that made his mouth look, oh, so kissable. I melted from head to toe in a rush of desire. Never in my life had a guy inspired such a raw physical reaction in my body. I felt drawn to him. Did he feel it too? "Who are you staring at?" Agnes asked, standing on her tippy toes to see around the crowd. Courtney glanced over at me and smiled, then hung her head forward. So she had seen me blush. She knew my secret crush. I wondered if she would betray it to Agnes, but she climbed into the van without a word, leaving Agnes to wonder what she'd missed. "No one," I said. "You saw someone," she said, climbing in after Courtney. "Trust me, I know that look. Harper likes a boy." I laughed and glanced back over toward Jackson's car, but he was turned away, talking to his friends. Out of habit, I reached up to touch my mother's sapphire pendant. It was a movement I made 100 times a day without even thinking about it. Only this time, the pendant was gone. All right, that is the end of episode 3. And one of the things, so there's a couple of things that are interesting about this episode in particular. So one is that back when you could see the, like Kindle used to have a site, and I don't think you can really see it anymore, but they used to have a site that you could go to back in the early days where you could see the most highlighted passages of a book. And they took it down. If you know of a place that still exists that shows the most highlighted, like if you turn on highlights and you're reading it on your Kindle, you can still see, like it'll say 12 people highlighted this passage. I don't know. I think it still does that, but there used to be a way that you could go and search for a book on this website and it would show you like the top 10 like most highlighted phrases or parts of a book. So this particular like group of scenes or chapters has the most highlighted scene or sentence in Beautiful Demons. So I will read it to you again if I can find it really quickly. I should have highlighted it. So this is the most highlighted sentence in the book. In my experience, sharing too much about your dreams and goals with someone was pretty much just giving them fuel to hurt you later. And when I saw that, I was not expecting it, but it kind of taught you something about what resonated most with people when they were reading your book. And so I was like, oh man, because that is definitely a statement straight out of my own life. Like once you tell people what it is you want, they can use it against you. And it's such a part of Harper's backstory, just that anytime she talks about things she wants, or she expresses herself, or tries to talk to someone about what's going on with her or anything like that, it backfires on her. So of course she's hesitant to really get close to anyone, as you would be if you grew up in that kind of circumstance. So that is one part, is the most highlighted sentence in the chapter, or the chapter episode that I read. The other thing is George's favorite thing that he likes, and he always mentions this. This has been something between us for the last 10 years. So kind of fun, is he's like, he talks about it. He wants me to get t-shirts made with this because it's his favorite line out of the entire Demon series, pretty much, kind of tongue in cheek. But yeah, when Agnes says, you're pretty enough. And she says, if you tell me I'm pretty enough to be a cheerleader, I'm going to punch you in the face. So George pulls that back out all the time, because he's like, yeah, if you tell me I'm pretty enough to be a cheerleader, I'm going to punch you in the face. So I think that that's funny that he still remembers that line, and he thinks it's pretty funny. And I think it's quintessential Harper, really. And it's just kind of fun. So there's a couple of things there. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is that, so a couple of things that came into the story in this scene that really don't get pulled through enough is, so first of all, Harper draws. So she draws this picture of her mother with the necklace, right? So she draws it because she saw a picture of this in one of her files with her adopted parents, or one of her foster parents. She saw this photo with the picture, and she draws it, and she talks about how much she wishes she could draw or take art lessons. I never really bring that up again. So as you go on and read, you'll see that there's another character in this series that has drawing for one of their talents, and it becomes a very important part of that person's character. But I think that one of the mistakes that I made early on when I was writing is I didn't have that series Bible. And so when I was writing book 2, I kind of let some of those little things, like her wanting to take art classes, sort of slid behind. And then later, when I went back to read and I hadn't mentioned it in a couple of books, I was like, well, I'm just going to let it go. So that's one of those kind of things. Later, you'll also kind of find out more about Harper's mom. And I think that it's possible it would have been very difficult for her to have a photo of her mother, or for anyone to have a photo. So either that is going to be something that I remove from the story, or it's something that will become important in the last 2 books that I don't even know about, because that has happened to me before. That I've written something in and then been like, oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't have written that. And then I realized later why it was important. So it's kind of like my, something in the back of my head is like my subconscious is working on a problem that I don't even realize. So just an interesting thing, that the thing about the art, like the photo or her drawing the necklace, is important because it lets you know how important the necklace is to her. But Harper as an artist does not come to be anything important in the series. So that's one kind of interesting fact or tidbit that like kind of got dropped somewhere along the way. Also, just another thing is when I went back and read this later, I was kind of like, because you'll kind of get to know it pretty soon in the book. But I'm like, why does Jackson have a car? So I think that really it's really probably Ella Mae's car. It's not Jackson's car. But yeah, I think this is the only book that he has a car. So just an interesting thing that as you begin to be a writer is something that you need to pay more attention to, and something that you learn over time is that, oh my gosh, anything that's true in the first book needs to also be true in all the subsequent books. It's also kind of funny that I made Jackson a smoker, which 10 years ago, for some reason, bad boy, I thought it was like sexy or something. But I think if I was writing him now, I would not make him a smoker, because it's not as like bad boy sexy as it used to be. So it's kind of an interesting sort of thing. Sonia said, I made a series Bible for a series I haven't written, only plotted. That's pretty cool. And Christabel says, yeah, the car thing throws me. When I went back to reread it several years ago, I was like, oh, I can't believe he had a car in the first book. I do say that it's Jackson's car, but we don't know for sure. Like when she leaves and she's looking for him at the thing, she's like, oh, his car wasn't still at the house. But, we're looking at it from Harper's point of view. So she may not know whether it's his car or not. And just so you know, the smoking stuff does eventually leave Jackson. It's only like something he does in maybe the first and second books, maybe only the first book. But for some reason, it was something I thought would be interesting. But I do think that I've learned a lot since writing this that you would definitely. Hi. You want to come say hi to everybody? It's been a little while since they've seen you. She just got up from a nap. Yeah. And Laura said, smoking is still a thing kids do. And it's so true. I'm not even sure 100% how long he smokes in the series, but he doesn't currently smoke in the series. But anyway, just an interesting tidbit there. You want to look at yourself and say hi? Rosy sleep cheeks. Yep, exactly. What do you think? Is that you? Are you a pretty girl? Yeah, you are a pretty girl. You are so pretty. You want to smile so everybody can see you? Alexandra says hi again, and again, I am waving wildly at my screen. See, people are waving to you and you don't even know. You can't even see them. LMG Miller says, I'm so afraid of inconsistencies in my books that I have 3 composition notebooks filled with notes on a series I haven't even written. That's great. So I think that it's interesting to do that, but I would warn you from doing too much of that before you start writing, because things might change and then you're going to be confused. So some of those kind of things that are like, I thought they were going to be important in the series, ended up not being, or things started changing. So what time is it for me, Owl Teachings? It is currently 4:52. So we're trying to get her onto more of a schedule so that I can get more sleep at night, which is part of that whole idea of like really setting boundaries and trying to figure out what resources can help me get through these kind of more stressful times. And one of them is sleep. So the more I sleep, I think I will feel better. So we're trying to get her more on a schedule. So we had to wake her up by 4:45 today. So I'm guessing she's been up for about 7 minutes. Yeah. Oh, a little drool machine. Nope. Don't pull on that cord. It'll stop my live. Everybody will go, where'd she go? Where'd she go? Yeah. Where'd she go? It's a pretty girl. I can't do this. I can't do this. Chat goes by too fast. Do the Bibles on computer or in pencil. So when I first started my series Bible for this series, I was doing it on a binder, just writing it in pencil. But then the world got so big that I had to start doing it in a wiki. And I do have a video on this, but I'm going to be doing a series of videos on Heart Breathings about how to write a series. And so I'm going to be going through the whole process of doing a series Bible. She just really wants to grab this microphone. What's so funny though, LA just made me laugh. She said she's looking for her cup of coffee. You guys, she has spilled so many cups of coffee lately. Oh, it's just so crazy. And she's got these 2 little teeth down at the bottom. Just 2 little teeth. Where's your teeth? Where's your baby teeth? Yeah. She's got like rosy cheeks and these little pink rosy lips. Laura says, I have a massage thing that's vibrating and purring white noise in your bed. That's insane. Yeah, that's really nice. We have like one of those Tempur-Pedic beds and I really like it. We also just recently invested in, like Boll and Branch sheets, which were pricey, but it was like a Christmas gift. So that was really nice. She's just kind of bouncing. Are you having fun? Are we going to go for a walk? Want to go for a walk? She just wants to take that mic. Okay, say goodbye. Say goodbye, everybody. Say bye-bye. Yeah, it's a sweet girl. I probably just got lipstick on her cheek. Yeah, teething is worse. Mommy needs a sippy cup. Sherry, you are so right, because she has grabbed my coffee like 3 times lately. Oh, well, it's worth it. It's worth it. So yeah, I know that a lot of people are excited about the series on a series, but it's so funny to talk about. I have a video series about how to write a series, and how many times can you say the word series? But I have been working on it for a while, and I'm really excited about it. So if you are a writer and you're interested in it, it might help you as well. You guys, I'm like failing at this because every time I try to click on something, but Owl Teaching says your videos about planning have changed my goals and I finally achieved them. That is so amazing. That's wonderful. I love it. Vanessa says something about Zara. So Zara, and Katie said, I want to know more about Zara. So Zara is someone that you guys don't know, and we don't actually get introduced to the character of Zara until book 3. So if you read ahead in Beautiful Demons here, or blah, 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 right here, I'm going to get better and better at like making my fingers match up with the things behind me. In Beautiful Demons, you will meet a character named Zara, and she has an unusual journey throughout the entire series. And there are big question marks about her, which we won't say more about because it is definitely a spoiler to talk too much about her. But there will be more coming about Zara and some interesting things coming up about her. So you will find out some answers, whether it's the answers you want or not, I will not say. But it will be. You're great as Vanna White. Thank you. So yeah, it's gonna be an adventure. And you know, it's difficult overall when you have to wait. I know that it's hard to wait for books. And for those of you that are just discovering this series, you guys are not going to have to wait that long to the end of these books. So we've got just book 11 and 12. So if you want to read ahead, like I said, the first 3 books are free, not only at like Apple and Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Google Play, but they're also free over on Wattpad. So you can go and read those, or you can listen to Beautiful Demons here. We might also end up reading the next couple of books. We'll see kind of how it goes over time, but you can read those first 3 free. And then book 4 is only 99 cents. After that, they're $3.99 a piece. So still really affordable books. And it goes all the way to book 10. Like Christabel has said several times, if you go into the Coven, there is a pinned post that has a reading order and all of the side stories and everything. Or you can go to my website at sarahcannon.com and you can click on the reading order tab, and that will show you all the reading order of the series, because there are like side stories and other things that you would get the most out of if you read them absolutely in order. We're also going to be doing a Shadow Demons Saga read along on this channel that will be happening later this year, that will be kind of more like a book club instead of me actually reading them out loud. But we're also staying kind of flexible. But there are some of you here, even like some people said they were here and bought the book when it was still the Demons Cheerleader cover, which means you've been here since 10 years ago. And I know that it's difficult to wait for a book, but really and truly, when you think about traditional publishing, most of the time in a series, there's only 1 book per year from an author, if that often. Like, you know, the Harry Potter books, or the like Divergent books, or pretty much any series you read, there's 1 book a year. And I've written and published 10 books in 10 years. Yes, I have not written book 11 for a year and a half, but overall 10 books in 10 years plus all the side stories is actually pretty fast, considering the fact that I also have published an additional 16 books besides that. But I think that what happens too is that because I know I'm making people wait, it gets difficult to hear the criticism that you're making people wait, you're making people wait. And so, yeah, so that was just kind of a hard thing this weekend, is that somebody went through a lot of my old videos and left the same basic comment, just worded several different ways. I eventually deleted some of them because it was just starting to get really negative about they'll never read another book by me again, and what's happened to me, and what's wrong with me, and why can't I write faster. And they were looking for books 11 and 12 and all this stuff. And I think in the end, it's just important to remember that, authors we're just people. We're just normal people. We're not like superhumans. We still deal with people telling us we're fat. We still deal with the laundry. We still have to clean up the house. We still have babies puking on us or dropping coffee on us. Like, we all deal with stuff. And so it's like, even if you're feeling impatient for something, if you want an author to write faster, probably the worst thing you can do is tell them that they're a bad person and you're threatening them that you'll never read their books again, because that just is, it's difficult to hear. And I don't usually like to post anything negative about my experiences in the coven. But I think by the time I saw the seventh message come by from her, or the seventh comment come by from her, I was in a dark place, and I was like, I'm just going to go post, because I know that you guys will support me, but also just to let you know that it is hurtful. But the truth is, you guys are amazing, because reading the comments from everybody in that thread, because you guys just really came out. It wasn't like there was just one or two comments, it's going to be okay. It was 50 or more comments from people saying that you'll wait for my books, even if you do feel impatient. And I know I left you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger, as I always do, but books 11 and 12 will be worth it, and I will make them the very best I can. I think it's always difficult to think about finishing a series, because when you finish something, there's going to be people that are just disappointed that it's over. And because of that, they're going to criticize how it ended. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, because I'm afraid, just in the fandoms that I'm in, a lot of times people are more harshly critical of the last couple of books because things don't go exactly the way that you want them to as fans. But I just promise you that I will do right by the characters. There may be some sad things that happen. There may be some difficult things that happen. But I promise that I will do my best by these characters. And I'm starting to, as we're reading this, there were 300 comments. Oh my gosh, I need to go read more of them. I thought there was 50 or something, but I just kept seeing them come by, and I need to just go back and read that thread whenever I'm feeling low, because it just made me feel good. But the more I'm rereading this book, the more I'm like, oh man, I got to get back in to write those last two books. So I'm like, okay, I'm feeling super motivated. I'm going to finish Fate's Surrender, and then we're going to keep moving on. I still do have second book of The Witch's Key to write, but while I'm writing that, I'm going to be plotting the book for Vengeful Darkness. So I'm super excited. I actually already have the cover for Vengeful Darkness and for the 12th book in the series. So I'm going to put the covers of those books on, or the cover of book 11 on my laptop skin. And I'm super excited about it. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be really fun. But whether or not there will be more after that, I don't know. I do know for sure is this will be the end, as far as I see it, of Harper's story. And if I tell more of the story, it will not be from Harper's point of view. And that is all I can say for sure. And then again, you never know, because I thought the same thing was true for book 6. Christabel says, 2 biggest things for me is Zara and the picture. So you just have to read to figure out what she's talking about if you want to know, because I'm not going to say anything. But lots of twists and turns in your future if you want to go ahead and read ahead. But hopefully those of you that are reading it and experiencing for the first time with us now are enjoying it. Miriam said, can we see the covers? No. Oh, I'm such a tease. I will most likely reveal the cover for book 11 here to you guys on YouTube first, or to my newsletter list. So I will keep you guys updated. I will probably reveal the cover for book 11 when I start working on it. So I will definitely let you guys know. Oh no. Sonia said, back when I still felt guilty about reading about witches, I left you a message on Instagram about your witchy stuff being TMI. I still feel bad about it. Oh my gosh. I don't even remember that, Sonia. It's totally fine. It's totally okay. It's really okay. As long as criticism is presented nicely, it kind of rolls off my back. And, I'm a pretty strong person when it comes to that. But I think when it's like a threat of like, I'll never read your books again, which kind of comes into a fear of like, maybe nobody will ever read my books again. And then you start in that like catastrophe thoughts and stuff like that. But, I love your books, but now I really have to go to bed, 11 o'clock. Have a great night, Alexandra. Get some sleep. All right. So I am going to let us go here. It's been an hour. We're about to go for a little family walk. Hopefully we'll not run into anyone outside. And that's about it. But thank you guys for being my happy place. Thank you so much for protecting this space and for being here. It's so amazing. Just real quick, I am going to give away these pages. So let's say to Sylvia Mayhew, I'm going to send these to you. So you can get the pages for today's reading if you message me at sarah@sarahcannon.com with your address, and I'll just slip these into the mail and send them to you. Thank you guys so much for being here. This was super fun. On Wednesday, I will read the next part. And this, I would say in Wednesday's chapter is where really the mystery begins for this series, for this book. So kind of the story question and the mystery. So the action and hopefully the point where you really get hooked is about to come in Wednesday's episode. So I will see you guys there. All right. Love you guys. I will see you soon. Bye.